morning, everyone. How's everyone doing this morning? That's good. My name is Jennifer Botterill, and I had the chance to go to Harvard University, and I also had the chance to play on the Canadian women's hockey team. So I competed at 4 different Olympics. We won gold in 3 and silver in 1. But the most, oh, that's nice. Thanks, you guys. Thank you. But certainly for me, when I reflect upon my path, I feel very fortunate to have had the opportunity to go to Harvard University. And throughout the whole process, I also encourage you guys to make sure that you explore the different avenues. And obviously, with all of you that are here today, students, families, you're taking the right steps. And I know for me, even in high school and in junior high, even grade 8 and 9, I remember sort of talking to my parents a bit. And if we would travel as a family, if my parents were going on business, I would always try to ask to tag along, or if we could take trips to different schools in the States to try to educate myself. And I remember being very intrigued by the environment in some of the schools down in the States, and it sort of triggered this goal of mine to go to school there one day. And I think for all of you along the way, to make sure that you have goals to strive towards and set different schedules for yourself. And I know for me, even in high school, I worked really hard. I did well, but it took a lot of hard work for me. And for me, it was also having that set schedule of making sure I wanted to take my SATs, to make sure that I gave myself some options, again, if I didn't like my first score, to have the chance to take them again. So again, making sure I was trying to take the right steps. But I also remember this one day, I was 15 years old, sat down, had lunch with my dad one day. My dad asks me what my ultimate dream is, my ultimate goal. And I sort of stopped and I thought, and I said, well, I have 2. You know, my one ultimate goal is, I said I would love to play hockey for Team Canada at the Olympics. And I said my second goal is that I would really love to go to Harvard University. And I remember telling him that day, but I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if either of those are possible. And I remember him sort of looking across the table at me, and he said, why not you? He said, if someone else can be there, then why can't it be you? If someone else can play on that Olympic team, if someone else can go to Harvard University, then why can't it be you? And at first I thought, I sort of laughed. I thought, oh, that seems a little ambitious. I don't know if he knows what he's talking about. But sure enough, he was serious. And I started to think even maybe there was a small possibility that those goals were attainable. And I remember thinking back to one of my high school teachers, and we ended up having a motto for this year. And she said, our motto for the year is to never have to say, I wish I would have. Right? If you guys think about that, of having no regrets. So doing everything that you possibly can to reach your dream, to reach your goal, to reach your standard. And that was sort of the philosophy that I wanted to take. That if I could look back, so in a few years from now, I could look back and say, I've done everything that I possibly can to go to Harvard University. If I've done everything that I possibly can to try to make that Olympic hockey team, I can look back and have no regrets. And I remember this one day in December, and we were about to find out who was going to make the Olympic team or not. And I had already submitted, it was actually an Olympic year that I submitted my application to Harvard. And this one day in December that the hockey team told us we were about to find out if we were going to the Olympics or not. And it was quite a scene. I was sitting in a little waiting chair, and there's sort of 2 huge doors, and there was a sign above the doors that said boardroom. I stood up, I sort of had a case of the flip-flops in my stomach, took a deep breath, and I opened these 2 huge boardroom doors. It was a false alarm because there's another set of huge boardroom doors. So I wasn't there yet. Took a few more steps forward, and I opened the second set of doors. And the head coaches were in the middle of the room, and one of them just sort of smiled. She held out her hand, and she said, congratulations. So I was 18 years old at the time. I may have started crying, and it was actually only a couple of weeks later that I got a letter in the mail and that I got a call from Harvard University that told me that I had been accepted to the school. And the very first moment that I thought about in both of those situations, when I was told I made the Olympic team, when I heard that I had gotten accepted to Harvard, the very first moment that I thought about on both of those occasions was that lunch that I had with my dad when I was 15. And that's when he said, why not you? And I hope that all of you have these standards that you guys are striving towards. And even if it's a little bit higher than you think possible, to strive for that and say, why not you? Because it really is possible. And certainly for me, at Harvard University, I tried to make sure that I had lots of moments of appreciation to enjoy the whole process. And I remember when I went on my visit to the school, I remember calling my parents from Harvard Square, and I sort of had this smile on my face, and I thought I could be a very happy student athlete here. But the whole process as well is learning about time management. And I'm sure many of you have very busy lives that are here, but it's also learning to manage your time. And I knew for me, I wanted to be more than just a student. I wanted to be more than just a hockey player. And for me, it was pursuing excellence in all different areas of my life. And so for me, time management was really important, so that when it was time to go to school and focus on my studies, I wanted to be efficient with my time, because I might not have as much of it as other students might have, because I have to go to the rink and I have to go and train. But I also knew when I went to practice that I wanted to focus on being the best athlete that I could possibly be. So I feel like that is also learning to be really efficient with your time. But I think that balanced approach is one that's helped my perspective. And all of us, every single day, we do have a choice on how you see different situations. And I think it's just enjoying the opportunity to have these decisions, to not feel like it's a burden. It's a privilege that you have to explore these different avenues. And that was something for me as an athlete too. It was a very common question. How do you guys deal with pressure or expectations? But for us, we would turn that around and say, well, it's pretty nice that people in Canada want us to do well and are supporting us. But can you see how that's simply a shift in your perspective on how you see that situation? Instead of a burden on your shoulders weighing you down, you feel like it's this support that's pushing you. So instead of feeling the burden of, I have to make this decision or I have to do well, it's the approach of wanting to do well and wanting to perform well. And that's how I felt. I remember when I put in my application to Harvard, whether it was at a gold medal game, in a big exam at school, for me, it was wanting to perform well, not feeling like this moment is going to define my worth as a person. And for me, having that balanced approach really helped. So wanting to do well, enjoying this process instead of feeling it's a have to. It's a very different approach. One of my very favorite courses at Harvard University was called Psychology Applied to Business. And at the time that I took the course, it was a pretty new course. There was less than 100 students in the class. And it has since gone on to become one of the biggest lectures in the undergrad at Harvard, with over 1,000 students taking the course every year. And one of the takeaway messages from the class was understanding the difference between perfection and excellence. And there isn't much in life that is absolutely perfect, but this level of excellence is something that all of us can attain. And that was something that I really resonated with as a student, as an athlete, as a person, understanding that there's going to be ups and downs, that not every day, not every path is perfect, but this level of excellence is something that all of us can attain. Does that make sense? Because for me, that was something I thought can apply to everything that we're doing. I certainly know within my family, too, the experience in the NCAA was very valuable. I have an older brother, Jason. He was a student athlete as well. He went to University of Michigan. And even when he was playing hockey, he also took a lot of pride in academics, and he was winning academic awards at the same time as he was performing. And he had this sort of vision of being a pro hockey player. And he played for a little bit and then ended up getting a few concussions. And for him, that was tough, but he ultimately had to retire from playing. And he went back to University of Michigan to take his business degree. And as soon as he got out of school, he was hired by the Pittsburgh Penguins. And he is now the assistant general manager of the Penguins. He won a Stanley Cup the second year he was with the team. And he always credits his experience at the University of Michigan, because perhaps this wasn't the exact path that he initially thought, but because he focused on his academics, it sort of opened up this whole other avenue, and now he has the potential of a lifetime of a business and a career in the sport of hockey because he took pride in that side of it. So I think it's the balanced approach that's something that I've taken a lot of pride in, as well as my family. I think also just, I know you got a couple other speakers you're excited to hear from. The one thing I was going to say along the lines of not everything is perfect. I think one of the things I was most impressed by with many of the schools in the NCAA was they're not only looking for perfect SAT scores and great marks. It's important to do very well in school, but they're also looking for balanced individuals. I mean, every year at Harvard, I don't remember how many, but there are several students with perfect SAT scores that do not get accepted to Harvard University. And I thought that was such an important message because, again, many of these schools are looking for students that have balance. So that's also an important part, I think, of your perspective. I know for me, even one of the coaches at Harvard University was one I learned a lot from, and she was a tremendous leader. And I think she also had an ability to bring out the best in the people around her, and understanding everyone is a little bit different. And many of us are surrounded by people every single day. And it's understanding that every person might need something a little bit different to be motivated. So that was also a motto of mine, of bringing out my best in myself, but also in the people around me. So those are a few, I guess, highlights from my experience at Harvard. But for the most part, I would say that I loved the experience. And I think I didn't really know what to expect going down there. And like I said, I tried to take little moments of appreciation. And I would take them when I was going from one class to another, or if I was going from practice to class. I would try to make sure that I had that sort of moment of appreciation and to feel that gratitude. I hope you guys all feel proud of yourselves for being here today and for exploring your possibilities. And hopefully you guys can each say, well, why not you? And whatever that goal might be for you, setting it a little bit higher and then saying, why not you? So enjoy the process. It's an exciting time, and thank you very much. Thanks, you guys.